Hello and welcome back to Wendy's Way. It has been a long time since I've made a food video, and it's time for me to get back in the groove. I'm having family over for supper tonight, and I had no idea what I was going to make this morning when I made the arrangements, so I got out some hamburger and whatever else was in the cupboard, in the freezer, in the fridge. And I'm going to tell you about this meatloaf that I'm going to throw together. And basically, I'll just start off with the ingredients. And then I'll whip out my tools and we'll go from there. Alrighty. I'm going to make a big one. I'm going to make a 9x13 pan. Partly because we're going to have 5 people in the house for supper. And if we don't polish it off, I'll have leftovers. Leftovers are good. So I brought out 4 pounds of ground beef. For locals, it's our own ground beef from Fairway Meat Counter. Really wonderful, lean, healthy, yummy, kind of spendy beef. I'm also going to put in 1 egg for every pound of ground beef. I like to make my meatloaf firm. I don't like it to crumble. I'm going to put in a bag. They're now thawed, but they were frozen when I pulled it out of the freezer, of poblano, diced poblano peppers from my garden. They are like 1 step above a bell pepper. You know, they taste like a green pepper, but they just have a little more flavor. They're really good. Gonna put in 1 medium-sized yellow onion. Sorry about that. Gonna throw in some minced garlic. Gonna throw in a bunch of Parmesan cheese. Going to put in a couple cans of cheddar cheese soup. And gonna put in some shredded Parmesan cheese inside and probably on top as well. And instead of oatmeal or breadcrumbs or something like that, the last time I made a meatloaf, I used the dry packet of, what do you call it? Sure it is. It's a dressing mix. And you can probably figure it out. A bread dressing mix. But this time, I'm going to use shredded hash brown potatoes. That way, I have the potatoes and the meat in one dish. And on the side, I'm going to serve some string beans from my garden and a big batch of leftover, pulled out of the freezer and reheated mac and cheese, because at Bubba's Service, we offered a Bubba meal. It was smoked beef franks, mac and cheese, and tapioca pudding. It was pretty awesome. So, those are my ingredients. I can't think of anything that I didn't show you. I'm gonna get out my big old bowl, got my vinyl gloves, and I'm gonna get my mix on. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. I put everything in the bowl, and I had my vinyl gloves on. The hash browns had been out of the freezer long enough to be separated, but they were still cold. And the hamburger, the ground beef, was thawed enough that I could pull it apart and bitty it up, but it still had some frost bits in the middle. So after just a little bit of mixing it up with my vinyl gloves, I decided I needed to break out my Rita ice cream scoop, because that is how you mix things that are big and heavy and thick. I also started with a mixing bowl that wasn't big enough. So now I have to wash another one. Oh well, such is. So I'm going to show you. It's going to be a Whopper. This is the meatloaf. We're talking ground beef and hash browns, poblano peppers and cheddar cheese, garlic and onion and parmesan and shredded mozzarella. And I'm going to throw it in this $5 cake pan I picked up at Wally World the other day. With a lid, it was only $5. I was happy because I needed another one real bad. And I'm going to throw it in there. I'm going to sprinkle mozzarella across the top like I would on a lasagna. And I'm going to throw it in a 375 degree oven. Put a good 45-minute timer on it, and it still may need a little more time than that. Even though my pan is non-stick surface, I'm gonna spray it anyway because I really don't want it to stick, and I'm only using nylon utensils in the pan so that I don't scratch that non-stick surface off, which is what happened to my last 9x13. So I'm going to throw it together, throw it in the oven, and I will show you what it looks like later, and we'll give it a taste test and review when the family comes in. Catch y'all later. I have to admit, this does not surprise me. I always overestimate on the amount of food that I need to prepare for a group of people. Probably could have got by with half as much. But you know what? When you're cooking for one, when you make a big batch for people, when you have leftovers, you don't have to cook for a while. So here we are. I have a large casserole dish and a 9x13 cake pan full of meatloaf covered in shredded Parmesan cheese, and I'm going to throw it in this 375 degree oven for a minimum of 45 minutes. And then we'll take a look-see.